Oh, so after the very sad discovery that 7 pups are now gone from the litter of wild dogs, we've just come to check on the spot that the adults led them to on that morning, and it's pretty much established as a new den. It's a big termite mound, and life carries on for them. They can't afford to grieve. They've got 3 pups to take care of. The male's just trotted off. He's gone hunting. He's got to feed the female who's staying behind with the pups now. He's got to feed the pups. And it's quite sweet seeing the pups exploring their new home. I mean, this is now new territory for them, and they're in that curious phase, which sadly might have been what got those 7. The camera trap footage revealed them at the den, and we'd started to see them going on these little excursions away from the den, and footage of only 3 coming back in the afternoon means that while they were away, something got them, and we're not sure what. Well, I don't think we're going to get the closure we'd like. We suspect leopard, but I mean, even for a leopard to get 7 pups in one go, it's hard to say what happened. But they seem firmly settled at this new den. If we want to take positives out of this, 3 pups is a far more manageable number for these adults. A bit more attention, a bit more food shared between them. So I think, as individual pups, each one of these has a significantly higher chance of survival now than they did when they were part of a litter of 10. Yeah, I mean, it's all heavy heart kind of stuff, but 3 pups still alive and well, and they don't know any better, and now they're going to get probably a heightened level of parental care, hopefully. So all we can do is observe, hope, and just come back and keep checking, and hope for good news each time. Well, great start to the afternoon. We're just on the banks of the Sand River, very close to camp, only about 800 meters downstream, and we've come across the Tsalala female and her cub. Well, they're just enjoying the afternoon sun. It's quite a chilly day. They're lying out in the open, beautiful view overlooking the river. They look fairly well fed, so I imagine she made a kill last night, and they do look kind of lethargic. I don't think they're going to be going anywhere anytime soon. But we've just heard from one of the other rangers, in fact our head of finance, that the Piccadilly cub is the Piccadilly it's the hardest leopard name in the world. That the Piccadilly cub that the Piccadilly stop making me laugh. The Piccadilly female and her cub have been found at a prominent rocky outcrop on the other side of the river, so we're going to go there. Okay, I finally said that right. When our head of finance says, I strongly recommend you join the sighting, we listen. This is literally as good as it gets. This is an absolutely sublime scene with the female up on a rock. The cub's a little bit nervous. We've parked quite far away and we're using big lenses. It'll come up, and it's not used to the sound of shutter buttons on the camera, so it'll kind of come up, scratch around a bit, and then we take a few photos and it goes down. So what we've done now is we're just sitting quietly and letting it come up, and once it's up we're not going to take any photos. It's all part of the habituation process. And slowly but surely over the coming weeks, if we see it more and more, it's going to realize that the vehicles are no harm, and its mother's here and everything's fine. This morning we saw the female on an outcrop about 100 meters from where we are now, but it was a tough view. Wind was blowing, the sun was harsh, and she went and hid in the long grass. This now is on the completely opposite end of the spectrum of beautiful sightings. I mean, this is literally as good as it gets. So she's come down off the rock, left the cub there. She's obviously caught sight of something that she wants to go and hunt. We did hear some impalas off in the distance there. So, oh no, wait. Is that it?
Yeah.
No, here she comes.
Side there, we can see an impala was just running on the ridge. That's why she's going straight through the concrete there. Look like in the gap there.
Wait.
Can you see the impala?
Oh, it is, yeah.
You can see she's snooping around.
Okay, we've seen impala. So she ran off after something. Clearly there's impala, but now the impala coming to her. Her best strategy, get ahead of the impala and just lie and wait for them to come to her. She's in prime position now. So one impala at least has seen her. Okay, so unfortunately that hunt didn't go so well. She was seen, impala moved off, and now so has she. There's some klipspringer alarming at her too. Klipspringer, these beautiful little antelope that inhabit these rocky outcrops. And so yeah, the game's been given away here, and she's moved off into the grass to hunt. Sun's coming down, she's left the cub, so it's probably going to be hiding from us as well. We don't want to view it while she's not there. It's going to be nervous. Yeah, well, leave them to it. What a spectacular evening.
So after tracking the Birmingham male for some time this morning, came to an abrupt stop when Sean and Greg found the whole of the Ensevu pride and both Birmingham males. They killed a wildebeest right in the central parts of the reserve, and by the looks of what's left, the kill must have happened sometime last night. 21 lions feeding on a wildebeest does tend to go down quite quickly. When they discovered them, they were already quite full-bellied. In the long grass, you could just see their fat white stomachs poking out, and most of their heads down fast asleep. Some of the youngsters were still feeding, finishing off what was left at the carcass. So we'll come out here early afternoon and see if there's any sign of life from these very well-fed lions. You can see they're all still lying flat. They still are quite well fed. It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and what we're hoping for is that we're going to start to see a little bit of stretching, a little bit of nuzzling one another as they start to wake up and get a bit more active. So that wildebeest must be sitting quite heavy in their stomachs at the moment, because we've seen very little movement from them this afternoon. There was one moment some of them started to move around and stretch, and we thought that they would get up and start moving, but they just went and flopped back down. We'll come back and track them in the morning and see if anything transpires. It'll be interesting to see how far they move tonight. I've never been happier to be wrong about something in my whole life.
So last Monday was the last time all the pups were caught on the camera trap we had set up at the den. Then there followed 2 days of driving rain, freezing conditions, so there wasn't a lot of movement out in the reserve. The next time we checked the den properly was on Thursday, so 3 days later, and only 3 pups emerged. And we watched 2 adults move them to another den about 1.5 kilometers away. So now, once they'd moved the den, we went and retrieved the camera trap footage and saw that only 3 pups had returned to the den on the Monday afternoon. So we assumed the worst.
Just to lose 7 pups in one go without any answer, no form of closure whatsoever, we were gutted. We came to the conclusion that all 7 pups had been killed.
Dave Varty was convinced they were still fine because he said there's no proper evidence suggesting that anything killed them. I mean, it got to 10 days and there was no sign of these missing 7 pups.
We were all pretty certain at this stage that they were all gone.
So when I heard that 7 of the 10 pups were missing, I've got to say my first instinct was I was not convinced. And the reason being that there was no evidence. And that bothered me. You know, they couldn't have parachuted away, there had to be sign.
Sadly, in that period, out of the 3 pups that we thought were all that was left, 1 was killed by a lioness from the Nsevu pride, so we thought they were down to 2. And then, a week and a half after we thought the 7 had disappeared, we got a message from the Mala Mala Rangers that the pack had been found with 9 pups still alive on the boundary and that they'd crossed back into Londolozi.
I was gobsmacked. I honestly thought someone was joking. 7 pups gone for 10 days and back seemingly from the dead.
And what we think had happened is that the adults were operating out of 2 dens. This has been documented before in wild dog packs, but invariably in bigger packs. It just didn't seem like a feasible use of energy to be running back and forth between different dens, 3 pups here and 7 pups there. Which is why it hardly even crossed our mind as an option. Yet that must be what was happening, because there's no way those 7 pups could have survived for 10 days by themselves. They had to have been at a den somewhere else.
So we headed off at first light. Never searched for anything so hard in my life.
And we're looking for any sign of the wild dogs and their pups. We ended up splitting into different teams and worked the area very carefully on foot. 1 track of an adult going this way. And after a couple of hours, we caught sight of a little pup in the bushes. And we found them all 9 safely at a new den with the 2 adults. Look, we know it's nature and anything can happen from now, but this is the most unexpected and delightful surprise for us.
Nature is never without her mysteries. This is just another incredible mystery which then became a miracle and reinforces in the 40 years that I've been here. She's always got a trick up her sleeve.
And a big thanks to the Mala Mala Rangers who let us know as soon as they knew, gave them a couple of beers to say thank you. The wonderful thing about this situation is that in the current climate of COVID and what's been happening in the world, the whole large industry is geared towards media now and who's got the greatest sightings and who's got seeing the best wildlife. And you know, the communication between the rangers and the different sides, it really just highlighted how all the guys on the ground here are actually all about the animals themselves, the conservation and the documentation and the well-being of these little pups. So let's focus on them. They're the priority. That's what's close to everyone's hearts out here, and it's pretty special to realize that at the end of the day.